Immanuel, for giving us a bit of your time this afternoon or late afternoon, your time. Now, elections in Cameroon are coming up. Elecam officials I spoke with recently say they are 95% ready to organize the elections. Reports of disunity among the opposition and all that. But let's take it one after the other. Is the opposition, as you see now, a plethora of political parties, are they ready for prime time, in your view?
Thank you very much, Peter, for having me and your platform and your nice to be with you. And I think it's quite complicated. And what I can say for now is that it looks like the people have a high expectation for change in this election, but unfortunately, the opposition is not ready to respond to that expectation. And there's always a proverb that says that it's not on the market day that you go and feed your goat. And I believe that's the problem with the opposition. It's on the market day that they are trying to see how they can feed their goat. They are trying to see how they can organize themselves to beat a president that has been in power for more than for more than 4 decades, and he still has a stronghold in almost all sectors, whether it's the military, whether it's the economy, whether it's even traditional rulers and everything. He still has a stronghold on the country, despite the fact that he's 93 years old. It's going to be difficult for the opposition with the division amongst them to defeat President Paul Biya.
Why are they unwilling to copy other African countries where opposition parties have come together, giving them a better shot at defeating the incumbent? Why is it so difficult in Cameroon?
The issue is that Cameroon is quite a complex country. I always tell people that Cameroon is not Cote d'Ivoire, and Cameroon is not Senegal and or Nigeria. Cameroon is a country which has experienced 3 different rules of foreign powers. That is, it started with the Germans, then the French. It was divided between the French and the English. So there's the Anglophone side and the Francophone side. Then there are more than 250 ethnic groups in the country. It's really difficult. We are divided almost on all issues, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's ideology, whether it's even the way we perceive political organization, because the way people are organized in the north is different from the way people are organized in the south. Cameroon is one of the countries that experienced a war of independence, which President Macron confirmed just a few months ago about the war of independence that took place.
Son Immanuel, my question to you is, all the opposition political parties, in spite of the divisions that exist, have one goal and one goal only.
Yeah.
To wrestle power from Paul Biya and his ruling CPDM. If you have one goal, why can't they resolve the pressing issues or disagreements that separates them to unite under one goal to wrestle power? Because if they go alone, time and time again, it's proven that it gives CPDM the chance to continue to rule and Paul Biya to continue to remain as president in spite of his advanced age.
Yeah, I think I was going to land on that, because the issue is that there's some sort of mistrust amongst Cameroonians, and we have been divided almost on all lines. And as I told you, there was a war of independence where people were fighting each other's, particularly the UPC, the Union de Population Camerounaise, was fighting for independence, and some people had to spy amongst them. And after the Aijo regime, you need to recall that we have only had 2 presidents in power. And the President Biya has really put in place a system for 4 decades to consolidate his power. That's what he has really struggled to do. And I can say he has succeeded in that point, because he has divided Cameroonians almost on all lines, and people don't trust each other, and there's a lot of suspicion. There have been several occasions for the opposition to come together to have one candidate, but it has been difficult, because even for them to talk to each other has been a problem. And so this has made people to somehow be disappointed and disenchanted about the situation. And just yesterday, one of the leading opposition who was disqualified to participate in this election, Professor Maurice Kamto of the CRM party, would not even endorse a political party, because no one can assure him that they'll do a coalition. So there's a lot of confusion, and it's not today that this thing started. And we have not seen a situation like in Senegal, where Sonko, who was imprisoned for several for some months, and people came out. We saw that in 2018, when President Kamto was protesting against the elections, calling for a electoral hold-up, and nobody came out. People did not come out to protest. People in the opposition did not come to stand by him. And it has been difficult for people to really come together and speak of one voice. And this is because of where we are coming from. And that's why I wanted to explain you the history of Cameroon, because if you don't understand this complexity of Cameroon, it's going to be very, very difficult to understand what is really going on. So
some youth members of the youth I have spoken to said that there's no need for political opposition, because a plethora of these political parties mean that the enthusiasm of the youth to participate in the election will obviously be dashed, since their front is divided. That means that the CPDM is going to win, in spite of the opposition leaders going around saying, oh, we have to wrestle power, there's disunity, they distrust each other. Then the youth will be let down, then there will be voter apathy for a very long time. Isn't it the case?
Yes, I think voter apathy started since I think the late 1990s. First of all, with the SDF, Social Democratic Front of Nijon Fundi, who people had a lot of hopes on and disappointed them. It has been something that has been building. It's not something that it just came. We just discovered. The voter apathy is something that has really been built. The regime has constructed, and the opposition has helped to make people to think in that manner. In 2004, there was an opportunity for the opposition to come together to elect a candidate. That's when the leading opposition was Nijon Fundi, and unfortunately, when they voted somebody, Amadou Damjoya, to stand to represent the opposition. Unfortunately, President Nijon Fundi said that he is not going to endorse that candidate. And this has been something that has been reoccurring on several occasions. And the opposition has not been able to find a leader who is going to really stand for the people, who is going to be able to fight against this regime.
Talking about that, I heard Chief Osi, who is the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Front, or SDF, saying he was not going to align or himself with anybody, and that is not going to be in line to support any candidate. That means it's going to be a tough situation. But let me ask you this, because a leading member of the CPDM told me that accusations against Elecam that the elections are rigged in favor of the CPDM are not true, because the opposition is divided, and that even if there's no rigging mechanism, Paul Biya is still going to win. He will not campaign. Perhaps he will campaign once, just a 5 or 6 minute speech, and he will win the election because the opposition just gives the victory to him on a silver platter. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think she's right to an extent, but there's a rigging mechanism that is put in place. There's no doubt about that. The Constitutional Council is appointed by the president. Elecam officials is appointed by the president, and all of these people have a role to play. And it's difficult to beat the regime, especially when you are divided. No one can come behind a candidate, given that there are a lot of ethnic groups. Political parties are still decided on party lines. People want to look at who is going to defend their own interests, whether it's from this part of the region, whether it's from the north, or whether it's the Bamileke, whether it's the Anglophone. We still think in that manner. And so it's really difficult to say that even if the opposition come together, they can win the regime. It's going to be difficult. We know everything is put in place to make sure President Biya is re-elected. But at this year, there's some sort of hope. People are with high expectation that there's going to be change. But unfortunately, the opposition is not ready for that. They have not been prepared for that. And as I said earlier, it's not on the market day that you go and feed your goat. And that is what the opposition is faced with. And there have been several attempts with Madame Damjoya to bring together the opposition to appoint a single candidate. And it has not succeeded. There have been several attempts for that, just only in just recently. And Kamto's speech of yesterday just confirms that the opposition is not ready to come together, and the people
But some people are blaming Kamto himself for, as a lawyer, a prominent lawyer who is well known in Cameroon and in the international legal fraternity, to make or commit a blunder to the extent that he refused to participate in local elections, thereby giving the opportunity to so-called the powers that be to bar him because he failed to meet the threshold that will qualify him to be a presidential candidate. People were hopeful of him. Why did he make such a blunder or commit such a blunder?
It's really a tricky question because you need to understand that the opposition, like there are opposition candidates, leaders who are not part of this election, who had drawn a conclusion that they cannot beat this regime through elections, that it is a dictatorial regime. People like Mrs. Kawala of the CPP party hold that position. And so the opposition has been between this idea of either going for elections and trying to beat Biya, or boycotting, not to legitimize the process. And I think Kamto found himself in that situation, not trying to legitimate the electoral process in Cameroon.
But that is because the last time he participated in the election.
Yes, that's why I'm saying he was quite confused of the way, because remember, he participated in the 2018 elections, and when he protested, he was jailed for 9 months. And when he came out, they announced another election, the legislative election. This was in 2020, which was going to take place in 2020. And so he said that we cannot go and protest for elections for the poor electoral code. And now they call us to come and stand in for another election without the electoral code being changed. So he was thinking that he was going to mobilize people in order to see how the electoral code can be changed. But it was not possible. And some people accuse him of being self-centered, wanting to have power on his behalf, on his own. But it's quite a complex situation. Others, as I told you, like Mrs. Kawala, have just decided not to go for any election because they know that it is rigged in advance and is played in the favor of the regime in place.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. We'll leave the conversation here. We'll pick it up another time
Yes.
as the election draw closer and closer. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening in Cameroon.
You're welcome, Peter. It's nice having me here. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy. Enjoy. Thank you.